Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me on the far side of planet Earth, Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
I'm ready for previews. Ty.
Oh, freaking yeah.
So we're into August. It is preview time. Ty, how are we handling said previews? In the past, we've done conference previews. We have done, S&P top 40 countdown previews. We did previews as it relates to which team got you. I mean, this was your idea. It got you most aroused.
That's right.
I remember that was a strange year, but, we got through it, and I think we're the better for it.
It was a very weird G-chat, yeah.
Yes. What are we doing this year?
Well, I'm still waiting for the checks to clear, and depending on who donated the most money, that will be who we spend most of our time covering.
I like that. And who we like the most.
Right,
Who
of
we're
course.
biased towards the most. Yeah.
That's the way this thing works here in the media business. No, so here's the deal. As you mentioned, we've done a bunch of different cuts on season previews. Last 2 years, I believe, we've done the top 40 or top whatever according to the S&P Plus. The S&P Plus is still going to have a pretty big role in how we preview teams building up to the 2017 season. We're going to try and have a conference conversation here each and every week now in the build up to the season. Tonight, we're going to do Big 12. We're going to start there. But what we didn't want to do is leave some teams like Iowa State out. Because Iowa State, to me, is a team that I'm really excited about, that I want to talk about, that I know we have fans who listen to the show. Want to get a little bit of Iowa State, Matt Campbell discussion out there for some people who might be interested, and really just how they fit into the whole Big 12 equation. So a conference conversation is how we are going to approach each of the Power 5 conferences. And then we've also got some important nuggets about the Group of 5 conferences as well.
Correct. I think tonight we're going to do the American Conference, or the
AC?
The Power 6, maybe, according to the American Conference, the sixth team, or the sixth conference, excuse me. Yes, so we're going to do some nuggets about the American. After we talk about the Big 12, we're going to touch on all of the teams in some fashion or form. But first, Ty, I have breaking news.
Oh, breaking news. Okay.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
Boop, 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 boop. Double breaking news. Here we go.
Whoa.
Did you want to play it again?
No, just once.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Boop, 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 boop. I did it again. We have two news stories to break as it relates to the Solid Verbal. The first is in a few days, 9 days, we're doing a live show in New York.
Yes, a live show in the flesh and blood.
Yes, we're doing it at Hill Country Barbecue. Last time we did it at Hill Country Chicken. We are friends with the people at the Hill Country Restaurant Group. They've been very good to us, and they serve very good food, and they have Shiner and all that good stuff at both of their restaurants. So good, cheap beer. That's a winning combination for us. We're doing it at Hill Country Barbecue this time. It's a slightly bigger venue. We want to fill it. Most of the tickets are gone, but we are telling you right now, because you are the people who are listening to the show probably relatively quickly after it went up. If you happen to be in the New York area, we demand that you come. We want to see you. We will have beer. We will have snacks at either discounted, or we're just going to give beer and snacks away, because you know what? We want people enthusiastic about our fantasy live things draft, our fantasy things draft live. And so we want you to be there. So the tickets are where, Ty?
The tickets you can find if you go on out to solidverbal.com. We've got a post up. If you go out to our Facebook page, if you go out to our Twitter page, you've been making Instagram videos. We've got posts on Instagram as well. If you need help finding that link, you can always email us at solidverbal@gmail.com. You can also find it out on Reddit at reddit.com/r/solidverbal, which is the subreddit that some of our fans have graciously created on our behalf.
Love that page.
Oh, by the way, sign up for the newsletter of intent. The people who signed up for the newsletter got a 2-hour notice on when the tickets were going to be available, where they were going to be available, all that good stuff. They're available now. As you said, most have been sold, but available for $15 plus some whatever odd fees get thrown in for the ticket processing
It's
website.
super minimal. I think it's like $1 or something. You know, it's not a Ticketmaster situation.
We are not going to get rich off any of these live shows, nor do we have any intention of doing so. We just want to meet the people. We're excited about college football season. We love this show. We're going to play this sound a bunch of times. I'm excited about that maybe more than anything. It's one of the favorite shows that we do all year, and we just want people to show up. So any place you can find the Solid Verbal, you can find links to get those tickets. So
will you take pictures? Will you take pictures with people? Will you hug them if they ask for a hug?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll re-record your voicemail greeting, whatever it takes. Whatever.
Yeah, they have good food. They have really good food, actually. It's barbecue, and as we both know, Ty, New York invented barbecue. So we're in a good spot.
Absolutely. So come on out to the live show. Is that both breaking news stories, or is that's only one?
That's only one.
I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play it again. Double breaking news.
Boop, 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 boop. Our shirt is done being designed, and we are accepting pre-orders at solidverbal.com/store.
Boom.
Officially.
Boom.
I'm a big fan of how this shirt came out, and I say that as somebody who designed the entire thing. But it's the new shirt for 2017. We are not going to be ordering a lot of these just because it's very difficult to keep track of everything. So it's a limited order run of shirts. You know, we might find a place to put it up after the fact, but we don't know when that's going to be. So if you're interested in a shirt, we have small through, I think, XX.
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Small through XX available for pre-order, and then you'll get your shirt, and everybody's going to be happy. They will once again be very, very comfortable. They are a new color. It's a brand new design. I really like how they came out. I cannot wait to wear one myself because I love the Solid Verbal, and I hope that you do too. So solidverbal.com/store.
A few enterprising verballers found the link hidden in our top navigation at solidverbal.com. You can see it. It says store.
Yeah.
Click on that. Order form. Fill it out. It'll take you to PayPal. $25 a shirt. Again, not getting rich off this.
No.
Trying to cover costs and make it worth their while.
I want you to be wearing comfortable shirts.
It's a very comfortable shirt. I am excited as well about the design.
And pre-order lasts how long?
Pre-order is going to last until about like the second to last week of August. So ideally, we can get people their shirts at some point in middle September.
That'd be great.
For the college football season. Word out to your tailgate, promo the Verbal when you're out there at the stadium.
Breathable.
And I should also add that our history show, which did really, really well.
Yeah.
People really seem to enjoy the history show, as well as the 90s video game show we did with Bill Barnwell and Ryan Nanny. The two shows we recorded in the same day that caused me to lose my voice for a week and a half. Just a little bit weird.
Yeah.
People have asked us in response to that, how can they donate to the Solid Verbal? We are not taking donations for the Solid Verbal. We would instead encourage you to go on out and buy a shirt or come to the live show. Just be part of the community, help spread the wealth. That's what we're all about.
Yeah, we're not super comfortable asking for your money for doing something we already want to and love doing. So a shirt or coming out to the live show would be incredible for our relationship as hosts and audience. That'd be wonderful.
And if you don't want to spend any money, at a minimum, go on out. If you like the show, write us a review on Facebook or on iTunes at itunes.com/solidverbal, or just join our pool, our pick'em pool, which I sent out to a gentleman yesterday.
It's all happening.
I will be, a lot going on here as we turn the calendar to August. There will be a pick'em pool out on Yahoo, which will advertise progressively more and more as we get closer to the season.
Ty, can we talk about football?
I would love to talk about football. Dan, I'm going to play this. I already gave away the game in saying that we're going to talk about the Big 12 here, but what are your thoughts in the Big 12? How are you feeling about this conference, Dan?
I feel pretty good. I was trying to come up with something clever or flashy or a way to brand the Big 12 as a whole, and I came up with two things. One, I probably should have like heavy metal under me, but incremental improvement. Incremental improvement. Or El Pasico.
Yeah, well, here's my thing.
I don't know. Yeah.
Every team in the Big 12 has a big, bold, 72-point aerial question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And the only differentiator for Oklahoma is that their question mark is only big and bold, but 36 points.
Yes.
Not quite as big. They, to me, represent the clear top tier in the Big 12 this season. Beyond that, though, I think it's really interesting. Incremental improvement's a good way to phrase it. But as a whole, most of the teams, if not all of the teams in the conference, save for maybe West Virginia, which we'll talk about here momentarily, save for maybe Baylor, who knows where they're going, save for maybe Texas Tech, because it's always the same preview each and every year under Cliff Kingsbury.
Right.
Most teams across the board, I think, are going to get better. Enough production coming back, enough improvements made towards the latter half of last season. We should see a better conference as a whole in the Big 12 this year.
The clear worst Power 5 or Power 6, all things considered, conference that there was in 2016. I believe the only Power 5 conference with fewer than 50% of their teams finishing with a winning record, which is, it's pretty unacceptable. It really is. But I understand they play 9 conference games and other conferences don't. But there's no reason, considering the level of talent, generally speaking, in this area, that more than 5 teams can't finish with a winning record. The non-conference schedule is sort of up and down across the board, but I think it's fair to assume that this conference can only go up from where they were last year.
I would agree with that. So what I think we'll do, talk about our general impressions of the teams within the Big 12, how we see them all meshing, how we see them all knocking each other off, throw in a little solid verbal personality, kick it up a notch with some solid verbal spice.
Your words.
And then we'll try to suss all this out, man. Figure out where it goes.
Yes, you want to start with Oklahoma?
I do want to start out with Oklahoma.
Okay.
To me, they are, by the way, preseason 8th in the poll, the Amway coaches poll that USA Today released earlier today. Good timing. They are 8th in the preseason poll. Take that with a grain of salt. They are clearly the cream of the crop. They should be able to control the line of scrimmage on offense. They should be solid with their back 7. What concerns me at a very high level, and what I'm legitimately curious to see, is if there is at all a transition phase now with Lincoln Riley stepping in for Bob Stoops, who retired. Yeah. Remember that? It feels like it was an eon ago. Bob Stoops retiring was kind of something that came out of left field. It was a big story. I covered it while you were away on your... Where were you? Where'd you go?
I was on my moon. I was honeymooning.
You were off mooning. I talked to Bruce Feldman. I talked to Andy Staples about it, what it all meant. It wasn't as big a surprise to them as I think it was for a lot of college football fans. But I don't want to undersell the fact that a coaching legend has passed the baton on to a guy who's still relatively young, who's very well respected in coaching circles. But this is still his first head coaching gig, Dan. There's a lot that can go wrong with that.
Yeah, he won't have time to devote as much energy as he has these past couple of years to the offense. Luckily, Baker Mayfield is really, really good at college football, one of the great all-time walk-ons. And on the flip side, no Dede Westbrook, no Samaje Perine, no Joe Mixon. So certainly going to be new names on offense. But as you mentioned, the line up front should be really good. And the schedule, all things considered, and I don't think it's fair to look too deeply into what this Oklahoma team will be just because of what they do at Ohio Stadium against Ohio State early on in the year, because their Big 12 schedule is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they never play Texas as a true road game, so it's your neutral site Cotton Bowl game. They're on the road against Kansas State. They're on the road against Oklahoma State and Bedlam. But all things considered, it's a pretty even schedule once they get into the conference part of the year. So I really like Oklahoma. I'm curious to see what kind of in-game management we see from Lincoln Riley. That's the big difference on game day, I think. I have them down for 10 wins. I have 10-2. I have them losing to Ohio State on the road and to either Oklahoma State on the road, Kansas State. Nobody ever wants to play against this style Kansas State team, or some sort of weird shootout-y game, be it against West Virginia or TCU, who they had a shootout against last year. So I'm really excited to see this team, and I think you hit every other point.
The wins projection, according to our friend Bill Connolly, is currently at 9.7.
Okay.
So 10 wins feels about right to me. I would urge you, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to Texas, don't discount what Tom Herman does as an underdog. We saw what he did at Houston against some teams that he wasn't supposed to beat, namely Oklahoma.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see what he's able to do, how he assembles those parts I also want to come back to a point that you mentioned about Oklahoma losing Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, their two-headed monster at running back, as well as Dede Westbrook, who was in New York for the Heisman Trophy presentation. That's 4,600 total yards walking out the door.
Yep.
How do they replace that? They've got names. They've got talent because they're Oklahoma. But I don't expect that to be just something that works out automatically because you've got Baker Mayfield. I think it's going to take some time. It helps that you've got a really good offensive line, probably the best in the Big 12. That'll work for you. But I think it's going to take some time to work things out. I don't think they'll have that all in order by September 9th when they go to Ohio State.
I would also add this fun nugget, speaking of which, Oklahoma is one of a handful of teams to have never been shut out in a college football playoff game.
Oh.
College football playoff teams mostly have never been shut out, and that includes Oklahoma.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the defense has in store, if it can improve. It's been good. It's not been elite since Brent Venables left, but still a pretty good unit as it relates certainly to the Big 12.
Who do we have next?
We both feeling 10 wins?
Yes, I'm feeling 10.
Let's go down to Texas.
Okay.
I mentioned Texas. They are preseason 23, Dan, according again to the Amway Coaches USA Today poll.
Mm-hmm.
Take it with a grain of salt.
They indeed are.
Last year, they were very young. Very, very young. Charlie Strong was still the coach way back when. The defense as a whole got better throughout the course of the year. Inconsistent, but got better throughout the course of the season. The offense, though, had trouble. They had trouble assembling their parts outside of Deontay Foreman. And Shane Buechele was certainly a revelation early, could certainly throw that streak down the side against teams that were willing to surrender the streak, Notre Dame. But beyond that, it just felt like they had a difficult time building that cohesion. Now we've got Tom Herman, Dan. What is he going to do with Shane Buechele, who wasn't exactly, he's young, but he wasn't exactly any model for efficiency on offense.
Yeah, and it's sort of a misnomer that, Houston had this big fancy offense because of how they played early on in the season. We saw them beat Oklahoma, of course, early on. But I imagine Shane Buechele will have a better idea of the expectations of the offense because of Tom Herman, because of what, it's Tim Beck, who I know a lot of people have very mixed opinions of as a coordinator. He comes in to help run that Texas offense. But here's the really good news. I still like Chris Warren if he can stay healthy. I really like the Texas offensive line. Defensively, I would say the lion's share of the talent is in the back, 6 or 7. Malik Jefferson, Anthony Wheeler. These are healthy people, hopefully. I like a couple of the defensive backs for Texas a lot. Chris Boyd and PJ Locke are good. But I don't know if I see super duper game changers up front. And that's why I can't really get into the threatening 9 or 10 wins sort of mode for Texas. So my expectations are pretty limited because of health, because of depth, because of just new everything, including, I think Tom Herman shaved his head. I saw that today.
Yeah, that's great.
I saw they have 43-inch screens at every locker. So everything's getting real sleek, whether it's a scalp or a dressing room. So I am optimistic that Texas is going to improve if they can stop the run a little bit better, if they can get after the quarterback with some guys being shifted around a little bit better. I think big things for Texas long term. I really like Todd Orlando, always have their defensive coordinator. Their schedule is not the best because they travel to USC early on, but both Oklahoma schools are not true road games, but they go on the road to TCU and West Virginia at the end of the year. So those will, it appears right now, be tests for the front of the defense. So we'll have a better idea of the incremental improvement.
That's right. That's right.
By then. So
I want to also mention Todd Orlando, who came with Tom Herman from Houston to Texas. Defense was, again, very young a year ago, and it did improve, but it needs to get better against the run, like you said. What kind of impact will he have coming with Tom Herman? We know that those two have worked pretty well together to turn their Houston defense into what I thought was a unit that was pretty formidable last year.
Yes, and on a similar token, here's what we saw from Texas near the end of the year, a loss to Kansas. Here's what we've seen from Tom Herman these past couple of years, and I think we both really like Tom Herman as a head coach. We've seen dud weeks. We saw them really look bad. Houston against SMU last year. They lose to UConn a couple of years ago. They've struggled with Navy. So it's the refreshing, the idea that you should beat teams that you're clearly better than. And so eliminating the dud weeks for Texas, I think is going to be the huge thing I'm looking for.
There may be dud weeks, but they're going to play USC tight. And they're going to play Oklahoma tight.
Okay.
Maybe
How many wins?
Maybe they'll lose at Baylor, but there are going to be those games where they are underdogs, where I think they play well because of Tom Herman and because of all the returning talent they have coming back.
I'm worried about the skill. Yeah.
Let me read through this list really quick. Right. Mm-hmm. Who's gonna blow the lid off the defense? That's the big question on offense. But in terms of just guys coming back, 8 of 9 offensive linemen, including Connor Williams, who was an All-American. Top 3 wide receiving targets, 7 of the top 9 defensive linemen, and 6 are either sophomores or juniors. 7 of the top 8 linebackers, again, 6 are either sophomores or juniors, and 8 of the top 10 defensive backs returning. 7 of those are either sophomores or juniors. So Texas is set up really nicely, not just for this year, but certainly next year as well.
What's the record?
I see a loss to either USC or Oklahoma. I think they're going to knock one of those teams off.
Wow.
I think there will be a dud week at some point in there. And I'm going to count another unspecified loss in there as well. I say 9 wins for Texas. I'm high on Texas.
I'm at like 7.5. 7 5, 8-4 if things go right health wise. I think they're just going to be that transition year.
Wow. Okay, where are we going next?
Let's go to Oklahoma State.
All right.
Let's go to Stillwater. Let's go to a team that I think we're both pretty high on. And Oklahoma State, schedule-wise, tricky. It's sort of a landmine situation. They have Tulsa early on. And it's a Tulsa team that's looking a little bit different, but they were dangerous last year. They traveled to Pitt, secretly decent. Only time will tell, Tyler.
Right.
But they've got a stretch of, I think it's at Texas, at West Virginia, and Oklahoma in late October, early November. If they can go 2-1 out of that, I think they have a very good chance to at least threaten double-digit wins. I think they're good enough to beat Pitt. They're good enough to beat Tulsa in the non-conference. I have them down as a team threatening. I don't know if they can get to that double-digit win during the regular season mark, but I like all sorts of pieces on this team. Even though the defense is pretty inexperienced, there's guys that have rotated in. There's promising talent there. Offensively, I think we all know the story at this point. Mason Rudolph decides to come back. We love Junkyard Jim Washington. He's not even the only receiver in that core that's really good. They're a deep core of speed and talent in the receiving area of things. And Ty, guess what I have right now?
What's that? Breaking news? More breaking news?
It's not breaking news, Ty. I've got a dude alert.
Whoa!
Yeah, there's a dude alert because Justice Hill is so good. I'm planting my flag on Justice Hill.
The long arm of the law, Justice.
The long arm of the law is a home run hitter. He is a cut and go guy. He was, I believe, a freshman last year.
Breakout campaign, sure.
Was just ridiculous and gives them the balance that will have to draw safeties in sometimes and give then obviously Junkyard Jim Washington room to roam deep. So he makes this offense complete. Justice Hill actually reminds me a lot of LaMichael James and that sort of cut and go, and he's sort of elusive water bug kind of running back. I love Justice Hill. He's going to be so damn fun.
Yeah. By the way, Oklahoma State, the Cowboys are 11th in the preseason poll. Again, take it with a grain of salt, released today. The Amway USA Today coaches poll. They're going to be a ton of fun to watch. They always are because of the offense. Mason Rudolph throws an awesome deep ball, and Mike Gundy is not afraid to use it. That will make them exciting to watch on offense. The question's defense. It leaves a lot to be desired. We're going on a couple of years now, Dan, since everyone was enchanted by what Glenn Spencer could do as a defensive coordinator. It just
they need to force turnovers. Yeah.
It hasn't been the same. They're replacing a bad secondary with 4 of their top 6 defensive backs going elsewhere. graduating, leaving the program. The defense has been mediocre at best since like 2013. And corner is really weak this year, maybe the worst in the Big 12. I am very curious to see how defensively they handle a Big 12 conference that's going to want to throw the football.
Yeah.
So
That's all fair. Yeah.
We'll see. They've got some
How many wins?
Got some good defensive ends. I'm thinking like 8 or 9.
Yeah, I have 9-3.
8 or 9 feels right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is going to be that issue. Going to be a problem. Where are we going next?
Let's go to West Flippin', Virginia, Tyler.
Okay.
Let's talk ears.
Point of contention. West Virginia is preseason 20. USA Today Amway poll. 2-0.
Yeah.
Last year was a good year. 10-2 regular season, 10-3, lost the bowl game to Miami. Do you feel that with the following inventory of losses, personnel losses,
oh no,
that West Virginia should be the preseason 20? Skylar Howard is gone. 2 of their top 3 receivers are gone. 5 of their top 7 offensive linemen, are gone. Their top 3 defensive linemen, 5 of their top 6 linebackers, and 5 of their top 6 defensive backs all gone. Do you feel that warrants a top 20 preseason ranking, USA Today Amway Coaches Poll?
I think the Will Grier, as I now really want to call him, the Bill Grier factor.
Hold on, pause. Are we doing the Will to Bill conversion here?
Do we currently have a college football Bill with Big Bill Fuller in the NFL? I love Bill Grier as a name. Bill
Grier doesn't have enough syllables. Maybe it's one of these things because
it's the same syllables as Bill Fuller.
Bill Fuller, that's 3. Bill Grier, only 2.
No, Bill Grier.
That's a little bit of a stretch, Dan.
That's facts.
Maybe, hold on, pause.
Facts only.
Maybe Bill Grier prefers Bill in a professional setting, but to his friends, kind of like you with Danny, maybe his family and friends call him Billy.
All right, we've done Bill before. We'll go Billy Grier. Got up to some stuff after high school.
Right,
trying to figure it all out in Morgantown.
Grier.
Billy Grier. I think that overvalues how people are viewing West Virginia at the moment. And there are things to really like about West Virginia. I love Justin Crawford and what he was able to show last year. Another home run hitter. I am worried. The linebackers are pretty much all back, but you're right. The front on defense, the secondary is rebuilt once again. And it's not like these West Virginia teams haven't had to overhaul units year over year. They keep infusing with JC guys. They keep scouting and developing correctly. So Tony Gibson, at the very least, deserves somewhat of a benefit of the doubt.
I'm a Tony Gibson
great defensive coordinator. Yes, absolutely. But it's a tough year to overhaul everything on defense like they're going to have to do. So I think they take a step back. I don't think they're a top 20 team like it's the Amway, which is so funny. The Amway Coaches Poll?
Yeah, Amway USA Today Coaches Poll.
I feel like they're not that sort of 9-10 win type team like they've threatened to be recently. I'm going to say they're a 7-5 team this year. They take a step back. The defense will be fine eventually, but I think they're going to take some hits.
I don't think it's fair to Dana Holgorsen that there are such expectations. Because, if you look at what they are losing, this is a near total rebuild.
Yeah.
It really is. I think you need to temper expectations.
It's a tough schedule, too.
It is. You're talking about an early game against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech loses its quarterback, but I think should be a pretty solid opponent in week 1.
Yeah, it's in DC.
I don't think West Virginia is going to find their sea legs in time for that game. I could see Texas Tech being a problem because of their passing attack. I could see Baylor being a problem if they get their defense together. I could see Iowa State being a problem.
Wow.
Just based on the way they're sandwiched in between Oklahoma State and Kansas State.
Yeah.
I could see a lot of things up in the air for West Virginia. The only thing I really like at this point is Justin Crawford. That's the only thing. I'm a fan of Billy Grier, but he only had 2 good games.
Yeah.
Let's keep things in check a little bit.
Pretty high talent ceiling, but I think that's reasonable to say.
I'm saying 5-7, 4-8 for West Virginia. I am not in at all.
Huge step back.
And I'm usually pro West Virginia Mountaineers. But count me out.
Wow.
I'm way out. I am selling hard.
See, I'm not that down because you have a good quarterback. You have a good system in place. You run the ball well enough. I think you win more than you don't. But wow. Balls.
I'm looking for
I respect it.
system. I'm looking for personnel, and I'm looking for fit.
Okay.
All right. Fit is the greatest concern for me when I'm looking at teams. And also, Dan, when I'm talking about dress shirts.
Oh, shoot.
Finding a dress shirt that fits is hard. You know that. The collar is too tight. The sleeves are too long. Something's always off. Luckily, if you order a custom fit shirt, if you've ever thought about it, it's never been easier. Thank you to our good friends over at Proper Cloth. Propercloth.com. All one word. You can easily create a custom shirt in seconds. All you got to do is answer 10 easy questions. Dan Rubenstein tested, Dan Rubenstein approved, correct?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. 100%.
It is a foolproof process. You don't even need the measuring tape. They've got over 500 fabric styles that you can choose from, including premium Italian and Japanese fabrics, as well as business and casual styles. It all starts at just $85. Best of all, they guarantee a perfect fit, meaning that if somehow your shirt doesn't fit, they will remake it for free. They're the highest rated custom shirt maker on Google. GQ has called them their favorite online custom shirt maker. It is the future of shirts. Don't take my word for it. Take Dan's word for it.
That's true. I have a weirdly shaped body and it fits me perfectly.
Stop wearing shirts that don't fit your person. Start looking your best with a custom fitted shirt right now. Go to propercloth.com/solid today.
Mm-hmm.
Enter the gift code SOLID, SOLID, and you will save $20 off your very first Proper Cloth shirt. You want to make sure that you do that today. It's just better.
It is.
Fresh. You look fresher in a shirt that fits you properly.
You're a high quality person. Wear a high quality garment.
I should also mention on the topic of fresh that Blue Apron is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the United States, Dan.
Snap is what you'll hear when you have a pod of peas into your recipe.
Good one.
Thank you.
You made that up on the fly, didn't you? I can
right
tell.
there. No, I have legal pads of notes that led me to that goof.
For less than $10 a meal, they'll deliver you a seasonal recipe along with pre-portioned ingredients right to your door. We've used it. We like it. I can't say all the ingredients all the time, nor can I say all the titles of the sophisticated dishes that you get. But I'm telling you, I've referred it to people in various situations, various walks of life. They all love it.
Will you play a drum roll before you announce the dishes that are available coming up?
I can. Oh, there's 5 of them. Oh, God.
Oh, love it.
Blue Apron, completely flexible. You can customize your recipes every week. You can choose a delivery option that fits your needs. And Blue Apron, they have got a freshness guarantee. They promise that every ingredient arrives ready to cook, or they will make it right. Some of the meals in August.
Here we go.
Basil pesto chicken with summertime vegetable.
Oh my God.
Panzanella?
Yeah, I think that's right. 1 for 1.
Sauteed shrimp and green beans with Globe tomatoes, or is it Globe tomatoes?
As far as I know, Globe.
Spinach and orzo pasta.
Nailed it.
Whole grain pasta and summer vegetables with heirloom tomato caprese salad. Miso butter salmon and lo mein noodles with cucumber and charm tomatoes. A really strong representation here by the tomato industry. And finally, meatball pizza with fresh mozzarella cheese and charm tomatoes.
Hey, you were so close. You were so close. And I can't believe, just like you screwed up gnocchi before, you screwed up an Italian dish. It's not caprese. Caprese.
Whatever, Dan.
Caprese.
Check out this week's menu. Get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/solid. Blueapron.com/solid. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. Again, blueapron.com/solid. Blue Apron is a better way to cook. When we last left our heroes in the Big 12, we were talking about 5 and 7 West Virginia. Where are we going next, Dan?
Let's go with perhaps, because I think for Proper Cloth or Blue Apron, I forget which one, there was a keyword of solid.
Yeah.
promo code. So let's go with what looks to be the most solid. And that's the most bankable team, I think, on our list here, other than Oklahoma in the Big 12. That's Kansas State.
Yeah?
I feel very good about Kansas State, not because of what they necessarily return on offense, but because of what they've shown on defense lately, even with the loss of some big names, notably Jordan Willis on defense. I like how their defense is playing. I like what they return on that side of the ball. And the big thing for me is, even though their offense isn't going to put up huge numbers, they have such a clear identity. And Jesse Ertz is just so solid. They might put together a 3,400 play drive. I don't know what they do. I don't know how they do it. They're going to go inch by inch and draw people off sides. Whatever the case may be, they are going to ruin teams in the way that somebody who is very patient and very adept at NCAA football, RIP, for Xbox, PS4, whatever, in that they can get 5 yards every time they run. They're not going for weird RPO plays. They're not trying to run an option. They're just patient. And Kansas State does that on offense. And that ruins the other team's offense because then they get impatient if they fall behind.
Yeah.
So Kansas State this year, I like Jesse Ertz a whole bunch. I like what they bring back on both sides of the ball. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of experience. And all things considered, the schedule's not bad.
It isn't.
They open against, or they early on. Yeah, it totally is feasible. They early on in the season, I think they go to Nashville to play Vanderbilt, which should just be a demolition derby. It should be 10-7 one way or the other. And then they have, it looks like they go to Texas, but they always beat Texas. I mean, usually.
Texas, I think that game at Texas will be the bellwether. There's a tough stretch if you're looking at the schedule critically. Very tough stretch from late September through the first 3 weeks of October, because you've got a Baylor game, which we don't know what we're going to get out of Baylor right now, but Baylor's defense, we'll talk about Baylor's defense, could be intriguing.
Yeah.
At Texas, which I think is a good bellwether game for where Kansas State is at. Then in consecutive weeks at home, TCU and Oklahoma. You get through that 4-week stretch, I think you're mostly sitting pretty in the Big 12. That to me is the rough patch to watch in the schedule.
I think that's fair. I think that's reasonable. I feel good about it, though. I think at this point, if everything, and Bill Snyder's getting over some health concerns he had in the offseason, and we hope he's obviously all right and at full strength to sort of anchor this team moving forward. But yes, you're absolutely right. That stretch is going to speak volumes, but this feels like the year that we finish the season saying, and Kansas State was Kansas State. They did exactly what they should have done given the talent that they have. I like them a lot. I'm optimistic. I'm at about 9-3 right now with Kansas State. Yeah. I like the identity.
Preseason 19, by the way, in the newly released USA Today coaches.
Feels fine to me. Feels totally fine to me.
9-4 last season. Important to note that this is a team that improved drastically from start to finish, both offensively and defensively, particularly on the defensive side of the football. As the season wore on, the defense got a lot better. And that really did make a difference, especially against the pass, which is paramount if you're going to play in the Big 12. My question, though, is whether or not they have more than just Jesse Ertz and Alex Barnes making plays on offense. Now, we've seen Bill Snyder, Kansas State do a lot, even if you've only got two guys. They can find a way to make that work with that slow, plodding, vanilla 5 yards of play offense. But can they manufacture some big plays like they did towards the end of last season? If they do that, I think that takes them to another level. I think that gets them to that 9-win mark. We're going to have to wait and see. That hasn't necessarily been their identity, but I think the pieces are in place where they can do it. My other set of questions is about their defensive front, because they lose Jordan Willis, and that's going to hurt. Can the front seven hold up against the run and force the pass? Because I think they'll be pretty good against the pass this year.
Yeah.
That
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you want to be, and we're talking optimistic Kansas State, would you want to root for this Kansas State team?
Just, that's the end of the question?
Yes. Pure style, this is what I have come to expect every week from Kansas State. They will be outmatched by a couple of teams that are clearly just way more talented and have a system in place. Kansas State maybe can't keep up with their speed, can't produce enough big plays, whatever. Be it Oklahoma, be it West Virginia, be it Oklahoma State, whatever. But that Kansas State is going to be more sound. They're going to force more one-on-one tackles than most of the teams they play against. But there's not going to be a ton of exciting plays, deep passes, trick play, whatever the case may be. Is that a team you would want to root for?
I would say no, because
it's tough.
Cheering for K-State's a lot like cheering for Navy, in that even though you don't have any kind of pyrotechnic identity on offense, you sort of know what you're signing up for.
I'd love to root for Navy.
You know what the team is going to do offensively. And you also know that if it's not working, it really ain't working.
Right.
And that can be maddening.
Yeah.
So I would say no.
We saw it a couple of years ago when they just stopped being able to run the ball completely. Like it was feet that they were averaging per carry.
Oh. Texas for me is the bellwether game, October 7th. Okay. Circle it right now at Texas. I've got K-State at 7-5. I am not buying K-State this year.
I disagree. And I haven't said that in a long time.
Let's go to Baylor. Baylor is clearly in transition. They started last year 6-0. They finished 0-6. A tumultuous interim year led by Jim Grobe, which was weird, but they had to do it. In the offseason, they hire Matt Rule from Temple, which was a bit of a surprise. I have warmed to Matt Rule. I will add, I've never been the biggest Matt Rule coaching hire fan, but I've warmed to Matt Rule based on what he's done so far. It's interesting. It follows the theory of hire the opposite of the guy you had in previously. And if ever there were an opposite to Art Briles, just stylistically, schematically, certainly that guy would be Matt Rule. Fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair to say. What intrigues me, what surprises me, perhaps the most of anyone in the Big 12, is how much I like the potential that Baylor has on defense. We're not used to talking that way about a Baylor defense, but there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, a ton of experience back.
And the combination of Matt Rule and Phil Snow was really effective at Temple. They built legitimately good defenses in Philly. Offensively, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't even know what it's going to look like. I suspect that will probably take some time. On the defensive side of the ball, Dan, I'm actually quite bullish on what Baylor could do. This is a conference that needs better defenses to give it, I think, a better reputation. So I'm excited to see what they can do here. I am pretty optimistic about Baylor this season. And so I'm kind of feeling 7 or 8 wins here.
Okay. I thought the wheels, it was very clear. The wheels came off on the field last year in the second half of the season. And certainly it's a fresh start for Baylor for whatever that's worth. Do you know who they open with, Baylor?
Baylor this season.
Yeah. They open with Liberty.
Liberty, right.
Who hired the athletic director who was at Baylor for a while. And a Liberty-Baylor matchup is sort of like, what if there was just really inclement weather and they just decided, you know what, let's just not this year. Let's just not. That's how I feel about Liberty-Baylor. Beyond that, schedule's not bad. They go to Duke, they go to Kansas State, to Oklahoma State. But it sort of clears up near the end of the year. It's a front-loaded schedule, which is very strange to say with Baylor. I like the Matt Rule hire a lot. I like his staff hires a whole lot. I like obviously, it's hard not to what Phil Snow did with the Temple defense these past couple years. Baylor's going to be fine on the field because of Matt Rule. I don't think they're going to be nearly as explosive. Nobody will be as they've been these past few years during the Art Briles tenure. But schedule's not bad. The quarterback position, whether it's Zach Smith or Anu Solomon, the Arizona transfer running things, it'll be okay. There's talent along the skill positions. I have them down as 6-6 just because I do think there is going to be transition elements that, they might lose toss-up games. They might have problems with offensive identity. We're not talking about a Temple offense that was super explosive at all. So what exactly are they going to be trying to do with an offense that was recruited to play a very different type of system? That I think there are going to be some growing pains there. Numbers are still a little bit dicey just in terms of pure available high level talent. So 6-6 feels about right. Yeah, they're going to show some flashes. They're going to show some deficiencies.
I shouldn't just pan over the offense and say I don't know what they're going to do. I still don't know what they're going to do, but
right.
what strikes me in looking at this roster is that the main stabilizing forces from a year ago are pretty much all gone, save for Terrence Williams and 3 offensive linemen. Seth Russell, gone. Katie Cannon, gone. Kyle Fuller, Dom DeSouza along the line.
Ishimura, yeah.
Gone. Yeah, Ishimura. So they've got a lot to work out on that side of the ball that hasn't necessarily been Matt Rule's forte. Defensively, I'm excited to see what Phil Snow can do because they do have a lot coming back on the defensive side of the football. So I'm feeling like 7-5, 8-4 if I want to get really risky with it. But 7-5, let's keep it right there.
Who do you want to go to next?
I want to talk about Iowa State.
Wow. Before TCU.
All right, let's talk about TCU. I don't want to disrespect TCU. We'll go TCU.
Disrespectful.
TCU was my playoff pick a year ago, remember?
Yeah. How'd that work out?
They went 8-4. They didn't make the playoff, alas. For all intents and purposes, everyone is back from that 8-4 team from a year ago. They have, according to our friend Bill Connolly, the most returning production of any Power 5 team, which is certainly meaningful. I am going to harken back, though, to what I said a year ago about Tennessee. And that is, it's about trust, babe.
Oh, my God.
It's about trust, babe.
Okay, explain yourself.
I am not going to go where I went a year ago with TCU because I just don't trust Kenny Hill. And I know it's not all his fault. This is more of a me thing, not a him thing. Just laying my heart out there for everyone.
Some of it was his fault.
He got a lot of drop passes a year ago. There was a revolving door at wide receiver because guys kept getting hurt. You can't blame it all on Kenny Hill. But you can blame a chunk of it on him. He made a lot of dumb throws, a lot of bad mistakes. And quite frankly, you just can't do that. You can't do that. For as good as he was to start his college football career at Texas A&M, that's how inconsistent he was this past year at TCU. There were times where I wondered if he was really interested in playing or if he had just mailed it in. Just never felt like he had killer instinct to me. Maybe that's too harsh of criticism, but that was what I was left with at the end of TCU's season a year ago. And for that reason, I don't know to what end I'm willing to subscribe again in 2017. Just left a bad taste in my mouth.
That's all rational.
That being said, there is a ton to like here. Because Kyle Hicks also comes back in addition to Kenny Hill. They've got 4 senior offensive linemen, including Austin Schlottman, who's a big deal at center. The back 7 of their defense is loaded. All of their linebackers, including their leading tackler, return. And they've got a workable schedule, which is mostly backloaded in November when teams like Texas and Baylor will probably be more experienced. It'll be tougher than if you had them early. It sets up pretty well for TCU. The only real question I have is along the line, losing Josh Caraway.
So Kavante Turpin, he's a mini dude alert for me.
Mini dude alert? We don't play for mini dude alert.
No, I'm just telling you. He's a literal mini dude. Yeah.
So I think if you want to be optimistic about TCU, the canvas is there. It's there for you to paint your picture of what a successful season looks like. I'm not going to engage on that level with TCU again. I'm going to say 8-4.
That's what I have down here as well. And I think it's the Kenny Hill holdback factor. It's the inconsistency from receivers, as talented as they are. It's an identity thing. They lose. You didn't mention Doug Meacham. He goes over to Kansas to run their offense. Sonny Cumbie's still there, and they promote, I think, the running backs coach to a co-coordinator job. So some transitions along the staff. I don't know what to expect from TCU. You know, you look at the problems that they had last year. I'm not sure how they've addressed everything. Hopefully it's just a health thing. Hopefully it's an identity thing. Hopefully it's a motivational thing. If then you can see 9 or 10 wins if everything is clicking and they stay healthy. You know, Gary Patterson with time and experience to reshuffle things seems like a good thing. I'm going to say 8-4. I think some things get better. Some things stay as is. I don't see it with this schedule, especially the stretch. And you mentioned a workable schedule, but there's some chunks in the schedule. They have Texas and Oklahoma in consecutive weeks in November. And then early on in the season, sort of late September, early October, Oklahoma State on the road, West Virginia, and then Kansas State on the road. So a variety of styles, one after the other. I don't know. Those are all the defenses there. You know, maybe save for West Virginia. Should be a tricky enough that I don't think TCU is able to pull away. So I have 8-4.
The other thing I'll add here, I don't want to pan over the defense because they do have a lot coming back in the back 7. this defense has yet to return to the glory days of a couple of years ago. Right? I mean, at some point, they need to stop giving up big plays.
I erased the entirety of the 2015 season, including the bowl season of TCU, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah.
At some point, they got to stop giving up big plays. They got to start being disruptive again. The only good part of their defense, the only consistently good part of their defense from a year ago was the pass rush. They need to be all around more consistent in order for this team to take another step forward and maybe try to live up to some of that hype. I don't even know if there is hype. I'm just making that up. But as a whole, that's how I feel about TCU. I'm sort of ambivalent. Okay. I'm going to go 8-4.
All right. We agree.
Now can we talk about Iowa State, please?
Let's.
I am excited about this team.
Why?
Good question.
Okay.
Good question. This is the program to follow if you have no rooting interest in the Big 12. If you just want to invest in a story, Dan, that's going to be fun to watch over the next 2 to 3 years, I think Iowa State's where it's at.
Okay.
We got a lot of people who listen to this show and they say, wow, I'm listening in Australia. Who should I root for?
You're telling Australians to root for Iowa State?
I kind of am, yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Matt Campbell's first year in Ames. Last year, they went 3-9. A lot of improvement from start to finish. There are some good pieces coming back from a year ago. He did a good job recruiting in the offseason. At a minimum, this is a program that no longer feels as stagnant as it did at the end of the Paul Rhodes era. I think he's doing some stuff. Defense is going to be a problem. They're going to get overpowered by a lot of the better attacks in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about the offensive line. They got experience, but most of their starts from a year ago are gone. So that's going to be a work in progress to keep Jacob Park safe, open up holes for Mike Warren. The defense, that's just going to be where it's at. It's going to be a mess. I am excited, though, about my dude alert. A gentleman, you may have heard of him by the name of Alan Lazard.
Woo, dude alert. Sorry.
6'5", 223, Alan Lazard. I have a storied history with Mr. Lazard.
Please tell.
We are nothing if not friends, honest brokers here on the Solid Verbal, Dan. I've never publicly admitted this. I've had grave difficulty getting this gentleman's name correct.
Really?
Over the past 2. It's just like a mental block for me. 2 years ago, you can go back and find a preview. I may have edited it out, but at least the first time through, I referred to him as Alan Lizard.
Okay.
And then I realized the error in my ways a couple weeks later, and I started calling him in true Eastern PA form, Alan Lazard, which was also wrong. Now I'm back officially on the Alan Lazard train, but the bigger point that I have, in addition to the fact that he's a 1,000-yard receiver, he's a big dude, he's going to be an NFL prospect, probably get drafted next year in his senior year. Clearly Jacob Park's top target. The larger point is that we've got options now for the coming season. I've sort of been workshopping a few things that I think have real potential here.
I'm upset already. I'm pre-upset.
I'm gonna give you 2 options. I want to tell you which I should go with, because whether you like it or not, I am going with one of them.
This better be better than your 4-syllable guys.
Option A, Charred by Alan Lazard.
Ooh, I'm really have fingers crossed for option B.
Because it's the Big 12, Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Texas Tech going to get charred by Alan Lazard.
Okay, I'm waiting.
It's a slogan. It's like Body by Jake.
No, I got it.
It's not a nickname. It's more than that. And it could be, if it doesn't work out, it could be the name of his restaurant or a show on Food Network. Charred by Alan. You don't like it?
I'm ready for B.
Option B would be if I want to return to my roots as an Eastern Pennsylvanian with a slightly Philadelphia-influenced accent.
Okay.
The Duke of Hazzard, Alan Lazard.
But it's not his name.
He's dangerous. He drives a Dodge Charger. He wants to date your sister. He's the Duke of Hazzard, Alan Lazard.
Why don't we just call Iowa State El Pasico?
El Pasico.
Yeah, because Jacob Park is really good, even though he has a weird skin beret haircut. I don't know if you've seen what he looks like. It's very strange.
It's very strange. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we just accept Alan Lazard for who he is. Now
I was thinking about these all day, Dan.
I've
been workshop. You're just gonna toss them in the wastebasket.
I think we got to keep going, Ty. I think we got to keep workshopping. Charred by Lazard. I'll accept that one ahead of whatever the hell you said was option B.
Well, what do you
Iowa
think
State's
about
be
this
good.
team then? You really ruined the whole night for me.
Iowa State is going to be good, perhaps eventually, if they recruit well on defense, if they're able to stay healthy on offense. We like Jacob Park. You skimmed over the fact that Joel Lanning, who started out the season at quarterback for them last year, is now their starting middle linebacker. Hell yeah. Okay. I hope he's awesome.
Would you say he's the quarterback of the defense?
Yes, he is the quarterback of the defense in so many ways. Iowa State was in games last year. They blew a lead against, I think it was Baylor, and they lost a shootout. But they were in, even though they went 3-9 last season, they were competitive. They didn't back down. They played motivated football. I was very excited to see that because the Big 12 was kind of stanky last year in a number of ways. And the emergence of a competitive Iowa State, and even to a slightly lesser extent, the emergence of a competitive Kansas team was at least, you ready, Ty?
Yeah.
Incremental improvement.
That's right.
Incremental improvement. I think they have Northern Iowa again this year, and the game they lost last year. So hopefully they can flip that game. They can hopefully flip maybe either the Kansas State game, or who else were they close against and lost? The Oklahoma game, they're probably not going to beat Oklahoma this year. But if they can flip that, or Oklahoma State, they were competitive in, I could see a 4-8 campaign for Iowa State. I could.
Yeah. To me, this is like the new drive for 6. I don't know where 6 is coming from. I'm not sure I know where 5 is coming from. The schedule gets weird in November. You got 3 or 4 on the road, including your final 2 at Baylor, at K-State. You'll probably be able to throw against some teams
definitely should be
with lackluster defenses. West Virginia comes to mind. They should be able to be had in the secondary. And Texas Tech, that's kind of their MO. We'll talk about them next. But I'm going to say 5-7 at best, 4-8 more realistically.
Okay.
But I'm excited. I like Matt Campbell. I'm a big fan of the Duke of Hazzard, Alan Lazard. And Mike Warren and Jaquan Bailey on defense. So I think they take another step forward. I'm excited to see where they go. I think them getting incrementally better, even if they're not going to make a bowl, that's meaningful for the Big 12. They need to have, I think, more parity between top and bottom. And I think this will help get them there.
Agree.
All right, let's go to Texas Tech, Dan.
Let's do it.
I am obligated to play this sound every time I talk about Texas Tech. We put a ton of research into these previews, as you know, because we're covering a bunch of teams each week. So, don't kill us, if we pan over some stuff here and there. If we don't get into the full minutia and the machinations of each team. All right. That's not what we always do here. It did dawn on me, though, that there's really no need to overthink Texas Tech. The preview's been exactly the same each of the last 3 years. The names change. The preview's always the same.
True. It does.
Every year, it's, Tech's got a good offense. They're going to throw it for a ton of yards. They got to play better defense. They play better defense, they're going to be in much better shape. But offense, they'll be a ton of fun to watch. We don't know if they're going to stop anybody. And I feel like we're there again this year. They lose Pat Mahomes. Their defensive line's a total reboot. 4 of their top 5 tacklers are gone.
Yeah. They were super beat up last year, too, on defense. But yes, the point stands.
But I'm just, I'm very blasé on Texas Tech again. I need Cliff Kingsbury to prove to me that he's got more in the tank than just a really fun offense.
Okay. I think that's all right. They have promising quarterbacks. They have speed on offense. They're going to put up points. They're going to put up yards. The defense, if it's not a disaster, that will be a surprise because that's what we've come to expect. I don't know that there's more to say about Texas Tech at this point. I think it would actually be wasting our breaths to say anything that we already have not said.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I would also add, though, that 2 of the quarterbacks on the depth chart, their names are Payne Sullins and McLean Carter, which are aggressively Texas quarterback names.
That's very aggressive, yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
I have them down as 5-7.
5-7.
Maybe win a shootout. They didn't.
I go 5-7 here.
Yeah.
All right.
Final team.
Final team, Dan. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I'm not going to ask you how high the ceiling is, because that's a weird way to phrase it for where I think Kansas is going to be this year. Instead, let me turn it around a little bit. Let me ask you, how much higher do you think the floor is in 2017 as opposed to 2016?
A significant distance. Because if the floor is 1-11, 2-10, I think not even sort of based on win-loss record, but just what they look like on the field. They keep infusing with JC guys. The defensive line looks really good. I like the ability on offense to find playmakers. The talent is in a place that's much higher than it was under Charlie Weiss. And I don't think that can be overlooked. And that includes coaching talent. And they hired Doug Meacham, so I expect improvement in scheme, in identity on offense. It's going to take a while to really look like a robust Big 12 offense, but schedule's fine. It's backloaded. I don't think they're winning 5 games, but can they go a threatening 3-9, 4-8? Couple breaks here and there. Maybe they play a team with an injured quarterback and pick off a few passes. Yeah, I think so. I don't expect it's another drive to 6 team, but I'm gonna say 3-9, but an incrementally improved 3-9.
I'm interested in Kansas primarily because of the way that David Beatty built this year's version of the team. Bill Connolly referred to it as surfing the transfer market, as if they were an English soccer school, but there are transfers, there are JUCOs stepping in, plug and play guys to help stabilize the ship, because the problem at Kansas was not just limited to schematics. It was talent. They need bodies. They need better players. And I think he's trying to do his part to build depth. This year, offensively last year, they were a huge mess.
Yeah. Nightmare.
This year, they lose a good chunk of their secondary from a year ago, which wasn't great to begin with. But again, that's going to be a problem spot. You're right to say that there's a murderer's row starting in October and then all throughout the rest of the season. Here is what happens to Kansas in terms of their schedule between late September, when they're on bye, and the end of the year. Texas Tech, at Iowa State, at TCU, K-State, Baylor, at Texas, Oklahoma, at Oklahoma State, all in consecutive weeks. I don't know if they win any of those games. And Bill Connolly was wise to point out, in looking at that schedule, that really the hit or miss game, the bellwether game for Kansas, is going to be Ohio in week 3. Ohio, which he's got projected as the 103rd best S&P plus team in the country. He's saying that's the bellwether game, and I agree. You got 3 games in the beginning that are probably winnable. Maybe you pick off a game at some point later in the year, but I don't know how you get to 4 wins if you're Kansas. You can go 3-9, still improve drastically because they've been so bad, and I think feel pretty good about where things might go in 2018.
So they have, as I look at this, quarterback-wise, if we're worried about their defense, guys who will throw it all over them, a good chance of guys who are throwing it all over them. Maybe not a guy until Texas Tech probably will. But other than Texas Tech, I'm not fully confident in Billy Greer. We'll see what happens.
Billy Greer, yeah.
In terms of depth of dangerous quarterbacks, it's a good year to be rebuilding a secondary at a bad school.
Yeah.
Or at a bad program.
Agreed.
Or with a bad squad or an underwhelming squad. So they always seem to put the fear of life into TCU every year, and that's on the road this year. It's in Fort Worth. They're going to beat somebody that we don't have it down as right now. They're going to take somebody down that seems improbable. That's what I will say.
All right. Well, in closing here, since we've gone through all 10 teams.
Yes.
Let's tier off these teams. Let's put them in like 4 groups. I think we both agree that Oklahoma is tops.
You think they're alone on the top tier?
I think they're alone in the top tier.
Okay.
I would put in tier 2 Oklahoma State, Texas, and TCU, probably in that order.
Okay.
I suspect that you would put K-State in that tier.
I would.
Okay. Behind TCU, I have K-State, kind of right on the border of tier 2 and 3. And then I go Baylor 6th.
Baylor in a better place than West Virginia right now.
I think so. Because
I sort of have that too, but yeah.
West Virginia right on the cusp there. If there's a gray area between tier 3 and 4, I put West Virginia there, even though they're, again, preseason top 20, which for the life of me, I can't understand. They are totally rebuilding. I really think you got to temper your expectations.
I still would argue the benefit of the doubt factor is pretty high there.
And then for me, I go 8th, Iowa State, 9th, Texas Tech, who I'm probably putting them 9th, not because of actually believing they'll finish worse than Iowa State, but I'm just fed up with Texas Tech.
Okay.
On a personal level, I'm very fed up with them.
Okay.
And then 10th is Kansas. Bunch of transfers, plug and play guys. I'm curious as to how they lured Doug Meacham away and what that could do for a Kansas offense. But 3 and 9, I think, is the ceiling for them.
Wow. Down, down, down.
Yeah.
All right. I mostly agree. Should we check in with our parallel universe Sirius XM version of the show?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Sirius XM, the solid verbal 888-999-101010. Give us a call on the Instalube hotline. We are talking Big 12. What will Oklahoma look like without Bob Stoops? It's going to be a change. No doubt about it. What can Texas do with new coach Tom Herman? Will he bring some much-needed energy to the 40 acres? Got to be honest. Big question right there. Mike Gundy has a big offense this year. Will it be enough for those Cowboys to make some noise? Going to be a fun fall in Stillwater, no doubt about it. We know Cliff Kingsbury has the looks, but will he find the defense? Some huge questions in Lubbock, that's for sure. Should we be hearing sirens warning about Dino Holgerson's air raid? Gotta wait and see. Is Kenny Hill the answer for TCU? And can Gary Patterson get this Horned Frog team back to where they were? Only time will tell. What about Kansas State? Are they sneaking up on America? And what about Kansas, Iowa State, Baylor? Could they make some noise? A huge question, no doubt about it. 888-999-101010. Give us a buzz on the Instalube hotline. And now because you've requested it on that hotline, Despacito.
I love those guys, Ty.
You brought it back, didn't you? You brought it back, Dan.
Oh, it felt right, Ty. Felt right. We got to give the people what they demand.
It felt good.
Yeah, just to know what's out there, Ty. Just to know what's out there if they're not listening to podcasts.
It felt good. It feels good to be back in the swing of things here. Talking about 2017 college football.
I do have 5 nuggets, though, Ty.
Please. We don't want to leave out the AAC nuggets.
Yes.
Please.
I've got group of 5 nuggets, power 6 nuggets. Here's what you need to know going into the season, according to me. You probably don't agree with all of this. Number 5, Randy Edsall's back.
Yeah.
Dream job.
Can we play sexier than Edsall throughout the course of the season? Because people really got into that.
Absolutely. I had
my mom texting me about Randy Edsall's overall sexiness.
Okay.
Which was weird for me, but it was fun.
William Shatner.
Oh, you're playing it now.
I'm asking you, Ty. Is William Shatner objectively sexier than Randy Edsall?
No, you got to go Edsall.
I think I'm going Edsall.
Edsall's younger. Yeah.
And probably has his own hair.
Sure.
But he hired Rhett Lashley, who has been at Auburn, and Auburn was looking for a change offensively, so he's running the offense at UConn. Next, SMU has a literal large receiver, and he is a big receiver in every sense of the word. Cortland Sutton is probably one of the best 3 receivers in college football, is borderline unguardable, especially when he plays in the American. He is awesome. He's really good. You should watch SMU. If there's a weird random Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday night game, watch Cortland Sutton. He's worth it.
What about Tom Selleck?
Oh, Selleck is way sexier than Edsall.
Got to go Selleck with this push broom stash. Yeah, definitely.
Not even close. I would point out that Riley Ferguson is really, really good. He is the quarterback of Memphis. He, of course, transferred from Tennessee a little bit ago. Even without Chip Long, who Notre Dame pulled away unceremoniously. He's very, very good. He finished last season with an 11-1 touchdown to interception ratio in November, was super efficient. I like him a lot. I like Riley Ferguson. I like Mike Norvell. Everything is happening for Memphis. He's an even bigger prospect than just good in college. He could be a good pro prospect. Ideal size.
What about John Lithgow?
Edsel.
Yeah, you got to go. I think you got to go.
I'm going Edsel. There's a sportiness to Edsel that I don't think Lithgow's ever going to match.
Okay.
Houston has Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver is going to destroy everybody that tries to block Ed Oliver. Also, they have Kyle Allen, but mostly they have Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
Major Applewhite takes over. Kyle Allen is fun, but Ed Oliver. Finally, and this is the one you're going to appreciate, your guy Quentin Flowers, Ty.
Ooh, my boy.
He's got a very, very soft schedule.
My boy.
2017. Charlie Strong takes over at USF. Quentin Flowers is back. A ton is back on both sides, which isn't always the best because that defense wasn't particularly good. But bright spot of that defense, who is the leading returning tackler for the American Athletic Conference, Ty? It's a great name because I'm going to say it right now. Augie Sanchez.
Augie Sanchez.
Sanchez.
Do we say it like John Miller? Sanchez.
Augie, Auggie, Sanchez.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So those are your 5 American, Navy's rebuilding. There's all sorts of stuff. Well, hopefully Willie Fritz improves at Tulane. But yeah, it should be a really fun conference this year.
All right. Well, that does it for Big 12. That does it for some American nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we're doing the Big 10.
Next week, we are doing the Big 10. Yes, that sounds right. We're starting big. We're starting literally big. I have one more sexier than Randy Edsel for you, Ty.
Yeah.
Let's go with Warren Beatty.
Probably go Randy Edsel.
I'm going Beatty, Ty, and it's not close for me.
Gonna go Randy Edsel.
No, Warren Beatty is definitely sexier. Warren Beatty has a long history of being a good-looking guy.
What about Randy Edsel or Bob Davie?
That's almost like the brothers.
I was going to say, they're kind of the same person.
At that point, I'm going personality. I think I can believe in Bob Davie a little bit more as a
Bob
partner.
Davie. I'm still biased with Bob Davie.
Okay, fair.
All right, so again, thank you for tuning in. Check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We're all over the place. We're also on Reddit, reddit.com/r/solidverbal. Some fans set up a little community if you're interested.
Yeah, hang out.
I promised people I would read off that URL. Join the pool, buy the shirt, and if you are available, August 12th in New York City, Solid Verbal Live Fantasy Things Draft. Most tickets are gone, some still available. If you're interested, if you got questions, email us solidverbal@gmail.com. Otherwise, going out to the website, the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, all over the place. We've got links if you are interested to buy tickets and come meet us. We're excited.
Yeah.
Going to be a fun show.
Ty is 6'5".
That's right.
Not many people know that.
For that guy over there, my good friend, Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrand. Thanks for hanging with us again. We will catch you all in a week. Talk Big Ten. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.
One more time, don't forget about our friends over at propercloth.com. Dan Rubenstein tested. Dan Rubenstein approved. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Go to propercloth.com/solid today. Enter the gift code SOLID. That's SOLID and save $20 on your first shirt.